Welcome to another Primer Podcast Tech Series. Today we're going to change out a water pump on my truck. Pretty straightforward job. 4 bolts, some hose clamps. Show you how to do it quickly, efficiently, and right.
Look at that, I haven't seen this engine in a while.
Yeah. So basically, first thing we need to do is to drain the coolant. Then we'll take off the fan, loosen the belts. That'll get us access to the actual water pump. I don't have a heater, so I don't have to deal with the heater hoses, but I do need to save this plug. And that hose, this hose, and that hose. Not that hose, the lower one. There we go. Is to drain the radiator. I put a piece of hose on here so I have some control over where stuff's going. That way.
And then I'll undo the radiator cap at the top so you have a little better back pressure.
Thank you. Here's the new pump, all ready to go, courtesy of Davis. And always throw paint on it before you install it. That way things stay nice and clean.
To replace the steel or cast water outlets with brass fittings, get them at your local hardware store. MPT threads, it's brass, won't corrode, won't rust. That corrosion won't get inside your pump, won't get inside your cooling system. So always a good tip, go with brass fittings.
Okay, it's time to take off the fan. 1/2-inch socket. There's no shroud on this. Makes it a little easier to work with. But it's still pretty tight in there. These bolts are fairly long, and they won't come out with the radiator in place, so when you put them back, remember that when you're putting them back in, to slide the bolts through the fan, through the spacer. Okay, once you've got them loosen them up and where you can get them out with your fingers, it's time to release the tension on the alternator belt so that the pulley can come off. 9/16. Now there's 2 bolts that hold the alternator in place. One on the bottom that pivots, and the one at the top that you use to adjust the tension. Hopefully we just get away with one, but we'll see. Nope, my mechanic did a good job. So the bottom one, it's 5/8, where the top one is 9/16. And it should loosen up now. There we go. To get the alternator to slide over, some guys use a big screwdriver or a crowbar, but that's no good. You end up breaking stuff and bending stuff and chipping your paint. There's a boss right here. Press it wrench on top. There you go. 2. There we go. I'm going to leave the belt there before I mess with it. So now we can take off these brackets and then the water pump. Okay, time to take off the alternator. We've got 2 bolts that hold the bracketry There we go. And we're free. And then slide her on over out of the way.
Perfect.
So basically the same thing with the power steering. We've got the tensioner, we've got the pivot. Loosen these so I've got room with the belt, and then 2 brackets, or 2 bolts that hold the bracket together. It's all about having the right tool. They're loose, now I can tackle those. So there's an opening in the bracket designed for this. Through the hole, on the socket, easy peasy.
There you go. So we'll let the power steering bracket and the pump hang on the head right here at this bolt, so it doesn't all drop down and get in the way. We still have access to the pump back here to get that pump off. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so I'm going to try to break this fitting because I need it for the new pump, and we've got clearance, and it's a square one. A lot easier to do here than on the bench. Next would be the lower radiator hose. And get your catch can, your drip pan ready. And I'm going to pop that up from underneath. I guess we didn't.
You need another pan, William?
Yeah, an embarrassing mistake. Don't forget this, the top clamp for the, what is it, bypass hose?
Yep.
Thing that's always very hard to get on when you're doing an intake.
Yep.
If you notice, this top one I've loosened up, but it's still in there. It's always that last one that's hardest to get. So I'm making that one my last one. In theory, this should just break away. We'll see. There we go. If it didn't, a few hits with the rubber mallet or something would cure that. Here, kitty kitty. Want to make sure the surfaces are clean, dry, and get rid of this oily, mucky, old silicone stuff. Might need to break out a razor blade or some sort of scraper if it doesn't come off, but I'm having good luck.
Now that we've got the water pump off, it's a good time to clean your timing pointer. Wipe that off. Wipe off your damper. And also inspect your spacer. These things tend to wear, and they have a groove right here where it meets the timing cover, and once that starts to wear away, you'll get you'll start to develop an oil leak. So now it's a good time to inspect that, clean that up, make sure everything's nice and tight and clean. Now is also a good time to inspect your radiator hose. Make sure it's not cracked, it's in operating condition. Replace your hose clamps if necessary. Get your orientation right. That way you can get them on and off very quickly and easily.
One of my favorite engine degreasers is just regular hand cleaner. You can even mix this stuff up in a water bottle, dilute it a little bit so you can squirt it. It's good for getting like down inside your intake manifold and such.
Of course, we're using the Pro gaskets for this pump. You only need 2, then your money.
Make sure to use plenty of Teflon tape on this plug, or if you do have a heater, like Davis said earlier, get yourself a new brass insert. So make sure to add your RTV to both sides of the gasket, and we're going to put some on one of the bolts, which we'll show you when you do it. This stuff is messy. Don't be afraid to get dirty. Get a nice, smooth, even application, especially around the bolt holes.
Okay, now on the left-hand side, the lower bolt hole, you'll note we've got coolant coming out. That enters the water jacket, and you need to put sealant on the bolt before you tighten everything up. You don't want to forget that, or else you'll have yourself a leak.
So this gets lowered into place. Make sure you get the bypass outlet in there. Yeah, that's enough to hold it while we get bolts in.
That's your bypass up at the top. You want to make sure you get that lined up. Make sure you get the orientation for your hose clamp set up right so everything goes in. You have access to the top where it needs to be. Looking clean, man.
And I always put in all 4. Just kind of finger tight. That way it gives you wiggle room for getting that last one in. So this one's to line things up. Then I'll put the more difficult ones in. Then once they're all in, then I'll torque them to specs. For that bottom one, a little sealant at the end there. Don't forget the hose clamp. The torque specs on these are 20 to 25 foot-pounds. My torque wrench is not going to fit on these, so I just got them tight. Next step is to get this bracketry back together, get the belts back on. We're going to get the hose back on first. That way I don't drop anything down inside the hose. But I'm going to do it from down below. Alright, let's get the bracketry back where it goes. Okay, fan belts come on next. Alternator goes on first, goes on the back. Get it roughly into place. pulley goes on first. So the fan's locked in, the belts are loosely aligned. Next step is to tighten them. So I've got the bottom bolt not all the way tight, but snug, to where I can now use that boss. 9/16 on the top. That's tight. And switch to your 5/8. And firmly secure the bottom. And nice tight belt. Tension and the pivot. Nice and tight. Now it's time for water.
Coolant.
Coolant. There's a 50-50 ratio. You know you can buy those now?
Yeah.
Pre-mixed 50-50. Not a fan. Why pay for water?
Blah, 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 blah.
Water's in it. This doesn't need to get fired up and warmed up because once the thermostat opens up, water's going to go back into the block. I don't feel like doing it now, so I'm going to fill a couple of these up with water. When I drive it to work on Monday, I'll check it out there. Never put water into a hot engine unless the engine is running, but I'll check it there and do it at the end of the day. So a few hours. Wasn't that tough. This is getting dirty. Don't be afraid to get into your engine on something like this. I'd probably save myself $400 or $500. So once again, thanks for watching. This is William from primerpodcast.com.